Here's today's guest host, Rocky Raczkowski.
Well, we've heard so much going on in Georgia, especially during the election integrity debate. Now Major League Baseball leaving Georgia and the All-Star game. And then we started hearing pockets of different states creating their own election integrity laws, and the federal government, the Democrats in the federal government, trying to take over and nationalize all elections with H.R. 1. And then this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, a weekend where we shift our focus to those that fought for our country and for our freedoms and wore that uniform and paid the ultimate sacrifice. But yet we were hearing so much about what was happening in Texas. You know, Texas actually has a 2-year legislative cycle. So their legislators meet every 2 years for a period of time, and their last legislative day is the 31st of May. So they had their final legislative day. They had election integrity bills, and the Democrats walked out on them. So they may be called back into session, a special emergency session. And now we're hearing all these election integrity bills are actually not as bad as the news would like us to believe they are. We decided to reach out to our very own Secretary of State and now State Senator Ruth Johnson from Oakland County to give us a basic view of what these election integrity bills that are actually in Michigan, that are proposed in Michigan, will do. Ruth, what's the impetus? Why offer these bills on election integrity reform in Michigan?
Rocky, it's great to be on with you, first of all. And yes, you know, we had some of the most major changes I've ever seen. In November of 18, people voted for Proposition 3, which changed our elections substantially. We did get a list from the Auditor General from the state, which of course is nonpartisan, of a number of things that needed to be done. The House moved those. The Senate has 39 bills, and it seems to be the biggest sticking point with a few percent of the operatives is strengthening our voter ID laws. But we have strong bipartisan support for requiring voters to show ID to vote by the voters. I mean, recent polls show 75% of likely voters support showing ID to vote. That was pretty much stripped out in that November of 2018 Prop 3. So what we know is we show ID for so many other things in our lives, such as getting on an airplane. By the way, you'll have to be Real ID compliant by 2023, even to fly within the state or just in the United States, to open a bank account, buying alcohol, or even applying for a fishing license. So for election security, I understand why there's strong public support for the voters to do the same. And a lot of people don't realize that Prop 3 eliminated the requirement that we see what I call is a warm body once before they vote. Before Prop 3, someone had to be seen in person at least one time, and that was taken away starting in 2019. So this could either be when they register to vote at a Secretary of State branch, or back when you could actually get into them. But
I'm so glad you brought that point up, Ruth Johnson, Senator Ruth Johnson, because I've actually gone through the voter file, the qualified voter file, with a few individuals to find out what they were bringing up to me. And one of the things that they showed me was an individual that was not even a U.S. citizen, that was actually registered in Oakland County. And then another individual showed me her mother-in-law, who passed away over 12 years ago, who's still on the voting rolls in Oakland County. So why are the Democrats so opposed to vote? I'm not saying Democrats. I should be saying the Democratic leadership that is so out of tune with the rest of America. Why are they so opposed to election integrity and voter ID?
Well, that's a good question, because their constituents, most Democrats, do support this because they realize, but for some reason the handful of operatives are fighting that like crazy. And you're right, when I was Secretary of State, and largely by mistake, there were 3,225 non-citizens registered to vote. And if they vote, it's a felony and they're likely to be deported. So that's not fair to them either when the state encourages them to vote by sending them when the Secretary of State changed how we do things. We used to have our local clerks, the 1,520 local clerks, send out the absentee ballot requests to people that requested one. You could be on a permanent list too. She sent it out to the whole qualified voter file. The problem is the qualified voter file had over 800,000 non-qualified people on it. She shouldn't be doing that. There's not a law that enables her to do it. And the reason why the court said that the locals had to wait until somebody requested it was just because of that. We don't even really know who's qualified and who's not. They might be on the qualified voter file, but she sent out over 800,000 pieces of mail encouraging people to vote. It was an absentee ballot request to people that are non-qualified, largely lived out of state. And then there were people that were dead, and one 16-year-old we got, and two non-citizens that were frightened because they know that they could be deported because of it. There's absolutely no reason to do that. We need to make some changes that make it easier to vote, but much harder to cheat. And I think that's so important right now. And, you know, it's amazing what you have to have ID for. And one of the problems with the ID bill, that was Lana Tice's, she did a great job, but it said that you had to make a photocopy. Well, not everybody's got a photocopy machine, and when she got input, like all of us, she changed her bill, so that will no longer be in there, but we'll be doing what most of the other states are doing. At least we'll pass probably this bill that simply says you have to put your driver's license number or your state ID number or your last four digits of your Social Security number.
Yeah, Ruth, I've got a friend that actually moved out of the state of Michigan to Alexandria, Virginia, and he actually got 3 application requests from our Secretary of State that were forwarded to Alexandria, Virginia from the state of Michigan. And he no longer was a resident here, and he was registered to vote in Alexandria, Virginia. So I hear you loud and clear. In 15 seconds, tell us, when are these bills going to see the light of day? Where are they right now in 15 seconds?
We've been going through them one by one. There's 39 of them, and I anticipate that we'll start voting them out very soon. However, it will take the rest of the summer to do the package.
Well, thank you very much, Ruth Johnson.